Okay, cool. So we're going to talk about games design. No, games analysis and design. I always get that wrong way around.
And design.
I think I've always got that wrong way around. Yeah. So, Carlo, let's start off with, can you describe the module in one sentence?
In one sentence, yes, I will try. So the module is about learning how to design new games based on the analysis of existing games, identifying some elements that might be crucial to promote player engagement, understanding why they might be important, and then building upon them to deliver seemingly new player experiences.
Cool. So actually this would be a good time to talk about the other one, games design and innovation. So if somebody, games design and innovation is core, so why might, or what's different and why somebody might choose games analysis and design to either go with it or, you know?
Well, I think they are, definitely they are complementary. The big difference is that game design and innovation is more focused on the overall player experience. It does not enter into technical game design. It covers level design and narrative, whereas game design and analysis is more focused on technical gameplay analysis and relating features of the gameplay system with player engagement and motivation. So by extension, through game analysis and design, you learn more advanced approaches to formally design gameplay mechanics, gameplay activities, and so on and so forth. And you also have an introduction to theories of motivation so that you can link some gameplay features to potential elements of motivation of the target audience.
Cool. Sounds good. Okay, so who would it be for? Who's likely to pick it over? So, because if they've got games design and innovation anyway, and then of the three, you've got games analysis and design, and then Viz and 3D character, who would be most likely to pick a games analysis and design option?
I would say definitely game designers, and more specifically, game designers who are interested in gameplay systems, who are interested in player motivation, and who might actually be interested in developing specifications ready for further implementation. In fact, one of the things that we introduced this year is prototyping based on gameplay system specifications. So it's about those designers who are thinkers, deep thinkers, and who would like to know and understand what might work, how it might work, and why.
Cool. I think the why is pretty key, isn't it? Why it works.
Absolutely.
Okay. What about a typical session? So any week?
It changes. We have, normally the module is split in two parts. During the first part, typical sessions are focused on a lecture / seminar. It's more seminar than lecture. So basically I introduce some knowledge. We use knowledge maps to explore game design knowledge, and then we discuss concrete cases. And after that, there is always some workshop, sometimes student-led, sometimes tutor-led. And so that might be focused on analyzing some existing games, whether digital or non-digital, and then discussing possibilities for further development. We leverage the evolutionary design approach for all this. Then the second part of the module, so the second semester, is more focused on their projects. So we have individual tuition and support, and we have workshops during which we have collaborative sessions of review, and that's really when students learn to apply all the knowledge that we explored in the first semester to their own projects. So
when you say, so is the collaborative more about the feedback? Do they still work on individual projects? There's no teamwork in this one, is there? I don't think.
It's individuals,
and yes. But the collaborative bit is more about the feedback and the iteration. Cool. Okay, so let's think about how it will be assessed. So you split it into 2 semesters, naturally. Anyway, is it 2 assessments across the year, or is it one big one at the end?
No, it's only one big assessment at the end. Yeah. We do have formative milestones. So basically, we have 2 formative milestones and 1 final summative milestone. 1/3. Yeah. Second, third, and then final one. Yeah. So the idea of the formative milestones is actually to iterate through the game designs that students are producing. As of this year, they are also prototyping things. So we are actually having a variety of possibilities to test with other students, although that is not required at this point. Prototyping is required, but testing is not required yet. That comes later on. And so we have this structure, and the project is focused on designing a new game based on the analysis of an existing game, which has both a digital and non-digital release. So for example, we use Angry Birds, we use Battleship, we use Fruit Ninja, and things like that. And so the idea is that students should analyze both versions and then create a new version, which should be based upon the non-digital version. It should be an evolutionary design of that version. It should incorporate some strengths of the digital version. And in addition to that, it should incorporate mixed reality technologies. One of them should be mandatorily augmented reality. And then there is scope for freely identifying other types of technologies. For example, they can use heart rate monitors or haptic gloves or things like that. And imagine gameplay systems that can really leverage in a meaningful way those kind of technologies.
So we've got, because we have AR, some AR kit, but then some on the mobile as well. And then the haptics, so we have Leap motion controllers in the technicians. We've got VR headsets, so they've got access to a lot of kit for playing with, for implementation.
Yes, so the hope is that by giving them freedom to actually choose having these technologies available, they will also leverage these technologies to prototype. The interesting thing is that we explore prototyping in many different ways, so there is no requirement to prototype in one way or another, or even creating one single prototype. They can create multiple prototypes for different aspects of the game. Going back to the assessment, besides the project, students also have to complete a journal. So basically, it's a structured journal, it's lightweight, and it's to promote their ability to reflect not only on their product, but on how they're doing things, their work approaches, the difficulties that they're experiencing, and so on and so forth. And basically, they have one entry for this journal to be compiled in correspondence of each milestone.
Okay, cool. For the formative ones, is that part of the collaborative bit in the first semester, or is that just in the second semester?
Well, actually, formally the collaborative bit is for the other modules, so the assessment is always individual.
Okay.
Now, we do leverage work group for peer assessment, and that is for all the 3 milestones up to the end. In fact, the final milestone, even if it is summative, it's split into a presentation, and after a few days they have to actually submit the final version of their project, so that there is some time to actually leverage the very final feedback to make some polishing touches and tunings, and again, that is based also on peer feedback and peer discussion.
Cool, awesome. So I think the final one would be if you could talk about any examples either this year or last year, maybe some recent examples of it's hard to show, but maybe talk about any.
Yeah, for example, this year we've already had people playing around. Well, actually, we have many students playing with Angry Birds. It seems to be the choice of the year for some reason.
That's probably because of the VR version. I quite like the Quest VR version. It's good fun.
Yeah, it's quite interesting. But one of the interesting things is that by really dissecting the original gameplay system and thinking about how that can be enhanced while playing in a real world scenario, in a real space, some students started thinking about the role of multiplayer in that kind of game, and they started thinking about actually playing as pigs or playing as birds and all the possibilities that can generate. And it started in some cases thinking about 2 players, but then it started thinking about, it went all the way to thinking about what would happen if you had actually 4 players playing. And so it's quite interesting what they're doing and they're creating at the moment. So hopefully for next year, we're going to have some videos for the final prototyping and demonstrate something. But the interesting thing is that they are prototyping and testing some quite clever mechanics based on wooden blocks and slingshots and with all the due attention to health and safety issues.
Cool, thank you very much. So hopefully that will help first years in making the choice for their second year choices. So,
good.